When you think flooring terrazzo, it's not usually the first thing that comes to mind, right?
Right.
But get this, it's been around for centuries.
Mm.
We're diving into the stack of resources you sent about terrazzo setting, and let me tell you, this isn't like just your average linoleum.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how terrazzo kind of bridges that gap between just like function and art. Most people don't even realize it's as much about engineering as it is about the aesthetic.
So we're talking like Roman Empire durable.
Oh, absolutely. This is something that's designed to last for centuries. This isn't just a fad or a trend.
Wow, no wonder these RoleCatcher guides you sent are so detailed. They actually break down the whole process.
They do. The Terrazzo Setter Career Guide really emphasizes that craftsmanship aspect of it.
Yeah?
Take the divider strips, for example.
Okay.
They're not just kind of thrown down haphazardly. These things are like the unsung heroes of the whole design.
Really?
They act as molds, separating the different colors or materials within the terrazzo. It's like creating a mosaic, but with a poured mixture instead of using those individual tiles.
And speaking of that mixture, the guide makes it sound like there's a real art to actually mixing and pouring the terrazzo.
Oh, yeah. Precision is key at every single stage. The guide goes into detail about the grinding and polishing techniques that give terrazzo that signature smooth and glossy finish. They even use those progressively finer grinding pads. They start with coarse grits to level everything out, and then they move to those finer grits for that polished look.
With different grits, so we're talking about like sandpaper, but for your floor.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, what are these pads made of?
Well, the material varies depending on what stage of the polishing you're at.
Okay.
So you might start with a diamond-impregnated pad for that initial grinding, and then move to resin-bonded pads with those finer diamond grits for the final polish. Each stage is crucial for getting that shine and smoothness.
Okay, so now I'm picturing someone on their hands and knees meticulously polishing this giant floor with what's essentially sandpaper for concrete. I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
It's definitely labor-intensive, but the guide really emphasizes how important safety is during this whole process.
Yeah.
Gloves, glasses, masks, those are non-negotiables, especially during those grinding and polishing phases where you have all that dust and those fine particles flying around.
Yeah, you don't want to be breathing that in.
Yeah.
So we talked about the artistry, the hard work, but what about the career path itself? The guide breaks it down into stages, right?
It does. You start as a helper. That's where you learn the ropes and help out the experienced setters.
Right.
It's all about observation, absorbing knowledge.
Okay.
Then you move into the apprentice phase, and you're getting that hands-on experience under a journeyman or a master terrazzo setter.
It's like that old saying, the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. You got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. And eventually, with enough experience and skill, you can become a master terrazzo setter, leading your own projects and passing on your knowledge.
So it's a very clear example of how hands-on experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
It's not just showing up, it's about dedication, learning the craft from the ground up and then constantly improving.
You got it. And while the guide mentions that you don't need formal education to enter the field, vocational training or apprenticeships can give you a leg up.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Especially if it shows that commitment to the craft and gives you that training in specific techniques.
Exactly.
And using the specific materials.
Right. And that focus on continuous learning is even more relevant because of all the advancements in the industry.
That's right. New materials,
Yeah.
new techniques. They even mentioned something about computer-aided design being used in terrazzo now.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild. I'd love to hear more about how technology is being used to create these really intricate designs.
Well, imagine this. Imagine being able to create these super detailed designs on a computer, almost like digital mosaics. And then those designs can guide the placement of the divider strips.
Wow.
And even like control the flow of the different aggregates during the pouring process.
So it's not just about making things faster.
It's about being able to do things that you couldn't do before.
Yeah, it's really pushing those creative boundaries.
So cool. And it seems like it's working because the RoleCatcher resources actually highlighted how in-demand terrazzo setters are right now.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of surprised about.
Me too.
You would think, with all the options for flooring, now something like terrazzo would kind of fade away.
Right.
Why do you think it's having a resurgence?
Well, first of all, it's incredibly durable.
That's true.
Which is huge, especially for high traffic areas.
Right.
But I think also architects are really realizing you can incorporate it into modern designs.
So it's not just about restoring old floors in those really old buildings.
Not at all.
Okay.
They're using it in new construction projects all the time. We're talking hotels, airports, even people's homes are using terrazzo again. And now with this design technology, the possibilities are pretty much endless. We're talking custom colors, crazy patterns, even like incorporating other materials
Like what?
like metal or glass
Oh, wow.
to get these really cool visual effects. So it's like taking something traditional and then giving it this modern twist.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And the best part is it's not even just for floors anymore.
Really?
Yep. The guide showed examples of them using terrazzo for walls, countertops, even furniture.
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine a terrazzo countertop
Yeah.
with, like, colored glass embedded in it.
That would be beautiful.
It's like functional art.
Okay, you've officially blown my mind. I'm seeing terrazzo in a whole new light now.
Good.
No pun intended. But let's get back to the career aspect for a sec. You mentioned those RoleCatcher resources even had interview tips for aspiring Terrazzo setters,
They did.
which is really cool. Can we dig into that a bit?
Yeah, they had a bunch of potential interview questions, and some of them were pretty interesting.
Okay.
They covered the basics, of course.
Right.
Like, you need to be able to explain the different types of terrazzo, how to prep the surface, how to get different finishes.
Right, you gotta know the basics.
But then some of them were a bit more interesting.
Like what kind of curveballs are we talking about here?
Well, one question that stood out was, imagine you're in the middle of this big installation and you notice like a color discrepancy in the terrazzo mix. What do?
Oh, that's a good one.
It really makes you think on your feet.
Yeah, because it's one thing to follow the instructions.
Right.
It's another to be adaptable when something goes wrong.
Exactly. And then there were questions about dealing with demanding clients.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you had to adjust the design plans last minute.
Right.
Those really test your communication and people skills.
Which are just as important as the technical stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in that line of work.
You've got to be able to talk to the clients, contractors, everybody else on the team to make sure things go smoothly.
It's like you're a skilled craftsperson and a diplomat all in one.
Exactly. And it's clear from those questions that employers are looking for people who can handle both sides.
Right.
The technical skills, and then being able to navigate those relationships on a job site.
It's amazing how we've uncovered so much about a craft most people probably never even think about. And you're right, those interview questions really highlight how terrazzo setting is about way more than just those technical skills.
Yeah.
It's problem solving, it's communication, it's working together as a team.
It really is a good reminder that so many jobs out there require those hard skills, but then also those soft skills.
Absolutely.
And in a field like this, where you're creating something that's going to be around for years,
Right.
those become even more important.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of those kind of overlooked details,
Yeah.
was there anything else in those RoleCatcher guides that you found really interesting? I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about these deep dives. Even with all the stuff we've talked about, there's always more to uncover. One thing that stood out to me was they emphasized the importance of that initial helper role.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to kind of overlook that stage,
Right.
but it sounds like it's really the foundation
Right.
for everything that comes after.
It reminds me of that quote, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do."
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like that passion for the craft is so important for these terrazzo setters.
Absolutely. And speaking of passion, I was really interested in how much detail the guide went into about the whole polishing process.
Okay.
Did you know that there are polishing compounds made specifically for certain types of terrazzo
No.
to get different finishes?
See, that's the kind of insider knowledge I love.
Right.
It's one thing to know that they polish it, but it's another to know they have all these different compounds for it.
Exactly.
It really highlights that craftsmanship.
It's like the difference between just baking a cake and actually understanding like the science behind how all the ingredients work together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To create that perfect texture and flavor, there's this whole other depth to it.
It really makes you appreciate all that skill and artistry that goes into creating something that most people just walk all over.
Right.
It's like we see these beautiful floors, but we never stop to think about what went into it.
And the amount of work that goes into each step.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is wild. So for our listener out there who sent in these resources,
Right?
I hope you found a new appreciation for the world of terrazzo setting.
Yeah, maybe this sparked a new career interest for you.
Right?
Who knows?
If you're looking for something that combines creativity with actual craftsmanship,
Yeah.
the satisfaction of making something that's going to last,
And looks good.
terrazzo setting might be for you.
It could be a good fit.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most unexpected paths can lead to the most fulfilling journeys.
That's true.
And if you're interested in learning more about terrazzo, remember, those RoleCatcher resources are packed with info.
They're a goldmine.
They are. So until next time, keep exploring.
Keep asking questions.
Keep diving deep.
You never know what you might find.